Hello, welcome to the Wavelength podcast. So I'm your host, Cody404, and I'm going to let everyone go around the circle and introduce themselves.
I'm Matty Lyons, Yxnglord.
Jake, artist formerly known as Bbyface.
I'm Curry, 506 up next.
We also have Jonah in the room, who is taking a sip of water. So, I brought you in here today, Yxnglord, originally, but we also have Jake here, and
Yes,
we
sir.
also have Jonah in, and then my co-host, Owen. And so this is today's Wavelength podcast. Kind of rambling.
No worries.
That's what happens when you don't write an intro, really.
No worries.
But, so, Maddie, why don't you tell us about, like, what you do, who you are, that kind of thing.
So my name is Matty Lyons, obviously out of Fredericton. I kind of own my own studio called Raw Heart Records. It's just based out of my apartment. It's nothing like real fancy, but I've worked with a lot of different artists locally. I don't know, some just people off the top of my head, MCIV and like Exit, oh my god, Flowers, I don't know, there's a lot more. I'll come back around to those people for sure. Just give me a moment here on that. But other than that, man, I engineer. I'm also a rapper myself. I mean, you know me for that. Other than that, I mean, there's not a whole much to say. Yeah, that was awful, buddy. We'll have to run that back.
No, that's alright. That's 100% fine. So you've done that track with Flowers that you released yesterday.
Yeah.
So how did it, like, all come together?
Flowers just kind of hit me up, wanted to come through. He had an idea. And, yeah, he kind of came over. We just recorded as we normally would. He asked me for a feature on it. So I said, you know what, man, sure, I'll hop on there with you. The whole song kind of came together within, like, 2 hours. So it wasn't too much of a process. A little bit of the mixing and mastering obviously took place after. We kind of had, like, a demo made in 2 hours. But after that, yeah, that's about it, man. He just kind of put it out on SoundCloud last night. We don't really have a release date for it for Spotify yet, just because Flowers actually isn't on platforms yet other than SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. But I may release it on my Spotify, so it will show up on platforms later on this week.
Yeah, because you can do that with DistroKid and stuff, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all artists need to get on to streaming services immediately.
Yeah, definitely.
You know
the
what I
sooner you can get onto streaming services, like the sooner you actually start making money and like royalties and loyalties and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also the sooner you can get your songs placed on stuff. Like the basis from what I tell people when they come over is like just what you just said. The sooner you can get into like DistroKid or CD Baby or like any sort of distributor, whether it be one that you like independent or like through somebody that's gonna distribute. Like that's definitely the main thing, because as soon as you start doing that, your money starts snowballing, and that's when you actually start to see something. Like, you don't get me wrong, you're not going to be an overnight millionaire, even if your song gets like, you know what I mean, 50,000 streams. Because to put that into context, 50,000 streams actually amounts to like $50. Mm-hmm. So you know what I mean. At the end of the day, you just want that money to start snowballing after a while. It's just like the earlier you start, the better you're going to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's just as an independent artist, too, right?
Yeah.
Like, as you go forward, more and more people have cuts into that profit kind of thing.
Definitely.
So, who are some of your, like, influences going into it? Music and stuff?
Honestly, like, to be honest with you, I don't know, man. I've listened to hip-hop for so long, so it'd be anything from like a Tribe Called Quest to like Wu-Tang, like listening to that stuff growing up, to like listening to like the new school shit now that kind of influences my sound more, like more and more now, which is like, you know, you even put me onto like some hyper pop shit, so I've been listening to like Glaive and like all that kind of wave. But yeah, I don't know, recently, man, I've been kind of experimenting with my sound, but like for actual influences, like I would always go back to like Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest, like The Roots even, you know, stuff like that. I'm just trying to think more off the top, like for more kind of like new age stuff, because to be honest with you, I feel like my sound is more like definitely more new age than those guys at this point.
Yeah.
Like I would definitely not compare myself to them, because you know what I mean, they're greats. But at this point, yeah, they're definitely some of my influences. Like, I don't know, even like Joey Badass is one of my favorite rappers. MF Doom is like the GOAT. He's my favorite rapper of all time. R.I.P. to a legend. But yeah, at the end of the day, I have a lot of different influences, man. I like to take from current stuff to everything back from like the 90s, 80s hip hop.
Yeah. And I think too, like, jumping back to where you said, like, your sound is more new age than that. I mean, I think it's totally natural for, like, it's important that people progress genres in music, right? Things get stale and stagnant, and when a genre gets overplayed and overdone, you kind of get into a state where everything sounds the same. You know, and you can name any amount of genres that's happened to, right?
Definitely.
So I think evolving your sound is crazy important.
Definitely.
So do you have any projects coming up in the future?
Currently, let me pull my phone out actually. I have a current project that I'm working on that's actually just called Lo-Fi. That'll be dropping on all platforms within the next month or so. I'm actually just working on finishing touches on a couple songs, but that's all a collaborative project with my one of my good friends, Alex Campbell. Mm-hmm. His stage name now is Stuck Here. It used to be Juvenile Face. Excuse me. But yeah, so we've been working on this collaborative project for the last couple months now. Like I said, he made all the beats. I'm on all the tracks. It's about 4 tracks right now. I think by the end of it, we're going to make it a 6-track EP. And then that's going to come out on all platforms. So I've been working on that. Next month, shout out Frantic, May 27th. His album drops. I'm on 3 features on that. So you guys can look out for that on all platforms. I'm just trying to think of what his album's called. It's Black Widow. That drops May 27th.
And Frantic's amazing.
Yeah, Frantic's a great artist.
Especially with those visualizers.
Yeah, his visualizers are dope. And the AMVs, he's killing it.
Yeah. And Jake, you had mentioned that you had, like, you were formerly an artist known as Bbyface. Did you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I used to make music, like, back in, I guess I started pretty early. I could have said my first track was probably grade 12, maybe, until 2015. I started more, like, old school type stuff. I was pretty influenced by, like, MF Doom, similar, like, to Maddie and whatnot. Like, Wu-Tang, Tribe, all those guys. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of got into, like, some, like, kind of fucking kind of hardcore stuff. It was, like, X inspired.
Yes.
And did that for a little bit, and then got into, like, a little bit more singing, sad boy type vibe for a bit.
Yeah.
And then I was, like, up until probably 2019, 2020. And it was fun. Like, I made the tracks with some guys that are still making music and they're doing well, and you know, we got a decent audience for a little bit, but I'm just kind of switching paths and going to school right now, but kind of thinking about making music because I have some ideas for, like, a sound, but just pretty busy at the moment, so it takes time and a focus for sure to be able to actually craft it the way you have it in your head. So we'll see.
That'd be amazing too, because I mean, I haven't heard your music yet, but I've heard from a lot of people that it was, like, really dope. Like,
yeah, I mean, I didn't even put out a whole lot of tracks. Like, I made music for years, but I guess I've taken, like, some down, and, like, I've just, like, had second thoughts, I guess.
Yeah.
I like that.
Dude,
but I guess I dropped probably, like, 20 tracks or something like that, but I only have, like, 8 or 10 up on SoundCloud right now.
Yeah,
but
this motherfucker's wild with it, though. Like, for real, he's got old songs that he's taken down that, like, y'all motherfuckers can't hear anymore. But, like, I got them downloaded on my fucking phone because, like, I ripped that shit off the internet on SoundCloud, like, years ago. But, yeah, then this motherfucker had second thoughts and took them down. But at that point, even, those songs probably had, like, 20K views, 30K views. So, you know what I mean? Like, he definitely has a following.
That's definitely some numbers.
Yeah, no, that's alright. I just, like, I was in, like, going to, like, business school and shit, so I just took, like, some, like, marketing initiatives, I guess, from that. It kind of was a little kind of helpful. But yeah, it really takes like networking. Like you could be a fucking legend if you're sitting in your basement making music. It doesn't matter if you don't have some kind of network or like you know somebody. You're able to generate some kind of synergy in a group, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're just if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, then does it really fall? Like it doesn't matter if like if you're amazing, you're sitting in the basement. Doesn't you really got to just find that group and find people that you can. Just learn from and have like that, grow that network. So it's definitely important.
That's 100% solid advice. Like a lot of people kind of really underestimate the value of making yourself known to other people.
Yeah.
Right, when you're trying to do anything creatively, professionally.
Yeah, and I think some advice too is just like kind of not even trying to go for like huge artists at first. Just find people that are kind of like kind of poppin', that are like have their own little like niche market that are like kind of similar to you, and just like hit them up and like ask to work with them. And they're like to be cheap ass versus like they probably like it's like you're not gonna get free verses from these guys. Like if you're just coming up, like if you, I'm not saying you gotta drop money, but like if you are looking to expand, that's definitely a way. And those guys will help you with promotion and shit too. And that will also be great because that's like 20, 30, 50,000 people that like will definitely check you out.
Yeah, like, just to speak on that topic for a minute, like, my homie Anthony, like, who you know as well, who's in Dreamworld,
Yes.
like, they're a sick fucking
Shout out
collaborative.
Dreamworld Tony.
So, like, yeah, shout out Dreamworld Tony, word. But they're a sick collaborative, and, like, I've been bumping a lot of their music lately, but, like, I've been talking with Anthony for a while on Instagram and shit, and I've known Anthony since we were, like, young, but, anyway, me and him have been talking on Instagram, and it's just wild to me how this man never performed a show in Fredericton, never performed a local show. He just went out to the States because he had made this collaborative already of these people who he'd met through just doing the same shit Jake just said, like through SoundCloud and dropping music and just meeting these people who had similar sound and had the same idea that he wanted to run with. And once you have a group and a network of people built like that, it's a hell of a lot easier than you being that one kid in your basement trying to fucking make that dream happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, like, I don't know. That's just crazy to me because, like, to be honest with you, like, my background in music, I was at the right place at the right time kind of thing. I played a show, the So You Think You Could Rap contest at the Capitol back in, like, 2017. And I had 2 songs out at the time. I had For the Low and this song called No Assist, which were both demos. They weren't even done. And I played them live, and I ended up winning 3rd place in this contest, second place in this contest to Chimmy from Panda Gang at the time, and he had won 1st place. But anyway, that me getting 2nd place, I won $500 at that contest, and it kind of gave me a foot in the door to open some more shows. So I got to meet like Mad Child, and I got to meet Snap the Ripper, and I got to play some shows like that just because I got a foot in the door. But like I said, I was at the right place in the right time, and not everybody gets that. So it's kind of a dope thing that Anthony, instead of just taking the local road, which, don't get me wrong, he absolutely could have. He has all the connections through comedy and through everything like that. He could have got himself a fucking show, no problem, locally. But instead of him just doing that, he went and he was like, you know what, I'm going to go to the States. I'm going to go out with these, like, with this group of people who I've met and also have the same goal and create some shit.
Yeah. And, like, it's gotten so far, right? Like, that tour itself, I don't know if you kept up with all the little
Yeah, I've been watching, like, the
and
snippets and stuff on his story.
But, like, yeah, that looked like a great time. And I feel like a lot of those artists, too, if you look into them and stuff, they have the right kind of following where hyperpop itself is new, and the first generation of it is, you know, coming to fruition.
Yeah, and
but,
it's
like, I feel like this is almost
evolving.
like people who very well could be within that 2nd generation.
Yeah.
With the kind of energy you saw on that tour kind of thing.
Definitely.
Do you have any upcoming events?
Okay, 1 second. We're going to do that again.
Oh my god.
Just 1 second. Do I have any upcoming events? That's a good question, bro. Do I have any upcoming events? Let me look. Before you ask me that question.
Do you?
I don't think so. There's just music drops right now. Okay.
So no, you don't have any events coming up?
No, I don't. I just have music drops coming up.
I'd like to get some stuff going with Wavelength during the summer and stuff. Like, kind of offer like a lineup of artists and stuff through, who's done the podcast and, you know what I mean? Get more of like a community kind of thing, people in a room together.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that largely that'll kind of play off, like, pay off for the people involved is really getting kind of the safe, neutral space to, be able to network through collaborations and stuff like that,
Yeah, definitely.
I'd like to also kind of soon introduce like a Discord channel. Do you guys think that would be
Yeah, we can do that.
something that would be like used?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and do like regular, maybe like weekly group calls or something. Talk about marketing, talk about shit like that.
Definitely a good idea, man. I'm in a bunch of different Discords right now for like a couple of them are different ones for music and stuff like that, and like obviously for gaming and like bullshit like that. But the ones that I'm in for music, like there's one that I'm in for like with like Brody and Harley and a couple other boys. But like if we just had a big collaborative one for Wavelength, that would be dope. With it, that we can just like put all the artists into.
Yeah.
That would be sick. Cause like this is just like a personal one with like a couple of friends type of deal. But yeah.
And so far I've liked almost every, well I shouldn't say almost, I've liked every Wavelength, like, podcast guest we've had so far. You know what I mean?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, like I guess the better way I should phrase that is it's turned out like so much better than I expected.
Yeah.
In terms of just kind of people's response to it, right? I think a lot of people are definitely happy about the community thing. We just need like a strong, solid foundation to build it upon kind of thing.
Definitely. There's actually another page. I'm not sure who's running it. They just reached out to me the other day on Instagram though, and they actually may be beneficial for just like a lot of new local artists as well. And they're kind of doing the same thing that like Wavelength is doing. And just give me 1 second here. I want to tell you their name.
Oh, I think I know these guys.
Your Soundcheck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I followed them right back.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, the other day, that's somebody else actually, but,
Well, they just did a video with, like, Still Mad and, like...
Oh, nice. Okay. I seen that too, I'm pretty sure. What I'm thinking of is, this guy called Your Soundcheck. I'm not sure actually who runs it or what, but they just posted on it the other day, and the first post that they posted was mine and Franic's song Moonwalk. So I was like, okay, awesome. And anyway, and then they reached out to me and just asked about the local scene a little bit. So I have to get back to them with some local artist names and stuff. But it's a free promo page, same thing as like Wavelength's doing for local artists. So like you guys could probably hopefully work alongside them or something. But I was talking to him about you guys the other day. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I actually he had followed me, and well, whoever it is had followed me, and I'd followed them back. And I'm actually curious to know, like, who's behind it kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's running it either, but they clearly have a good grasp on, like, some of the artists who are around here locally, because, like, there's some artists on there who I haven't even heard of. So, yeah, and, like, some artists who I have heard of, but I haven't seen anything new from them for, like, years. Just from, like, Nova Scotia or Halifax and, like, you know what I mean, surrounding areas.
I like that, too, people are starting to more consider... like the East Coast as a whole rather than by province kind of thing. You're starting to see more interaction between provinces.
Yeah.
Then again, I haven't heard anything from PEI, and maybe I'm just not looking. But like, you know what I mean? I wonder what they've got going there.
I don't know. I was just gonna say I feel like PEI probably does have something going, but to be honest with you, when I think of PEI, dude, I think of like Cavendish and like the Country Music Festival and like stuff like that. But like, you know what I mean? That's just my bias, and that's just what comes to mind for me. I'm sure there's
Rednecks and Endless Forest.
Exactly. But when I tell other artists, like when I tell my friends from New York and like stuff like that, where I'm from, they think I live in buttfuck nowhere in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean? Because I do compared to them. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So I totally get that.
Yeah, I find Fredericton's a weird place to grasp to people who don't live here.
Yeah, because it's like, yes, it's the capital city, and there's like a couple things to do. Sure, there's like a pretty vibrant nightlife and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, but like for the most part, if you're not like doing something with your time and working full time or like doing something, there's not much to do here, man. Like, to be real.
I'd almost disagree. I find like, I mean, just comparatively with like cities in
Yeah.
New Brunswick kind of thing.
Yeah.
I find Fredericton, at least people, you know, they try to have stuff going. They try to do shows or
Yeah.
have little gigs going. Like, if you're willing to, you know,
Yeah.
like, venture out and try something,
Definitely.
there's definitely something to do.
Definitely.
But I do find, at the same time, you know, especially since COVID, hours for the downtown have been extremely limited.
Yeah.
So it's like you only have a select few options after a certain hour of the day.
Yeah, what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna go.
I'm hoping that eventually they'll kind of change that.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things too that I was gonna say is like the nightlife and all that stuff here is like pretty vibing, especially pre-COVID and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But like just where things are now starting to kind of come out of COVID, I feel like that's gonna actually give the hip hop scene and like just give the bar scene and everyone just a little bit of a kind of kick in the ass to get back out and do something and get out of the house, because like everyone's been cooped up for so fucking long. Like, I know, like, man, I like chilling in the house and doing my own thing, but like at the same time, I'm like, I need to get the fuck outside when it's like plus 10, plus 15 outside, and I'm sitting inside in the studio or like doing whatever I'm doing inside, wasting my time, right?
Yeah.
So.
Not to mention, like, both socialization and sunlight are crazy important for people. Like, I think, you know, that's something that you kind of forget over the course of COVID, or maybe it becomes strongly emphasized depending on the type of person you are.
Yeah.
But, like, I find that since, you know, mandates have come to an end and stuff, and I've been working at a club locally, and it's crazy to see the amount of people that will now just pack together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The second everything's like
Back to normal.
Yeah, and I won't get into that, but I think that it's kind of cool just to see, like, I don't know, how we were always projected that, like, things will never go back to the way they were, you know?
Yeah.
But it's good to see that people will at least socialize, at least do things. It might be a little bit different, but, like, you know, they're not so socially awkward kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think, in a sense, it's encouraged a lot of people who were more introverted and more whatever to actually get out a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's still, even just the early months, I think, what was around, when did we lose the mask mandates?
Just recently.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't that
within
long
the last
ago.
month and a half, 2 months maybe.
Yeah. So I'm sure the summer itself will be a interesting summer.
Yeah, it should be, hopefully. Yeah, see, another thing too that I think that like Wavelength would be kind of dope to maybe do this, but getting behind the scenes with some different artists, which you guys are already doing right now, but like if you guys could like, I feel like just seeing how different artists record in studio and stuff like that would be like kind of a cool concept that you guys could also like maybe take an ad to it, you know what I mean? Like podcast definitely is one aspect of it, but that would just be like something extra that we could add for like even Instagram page or something.
Yeah.
Like even snippets of it, you know what I mean? Like we don't gotta go back and fucking show everybody everything. You know what I mean? We're not trying to show everybody the secret sauce. But like if you can get people interested from like a 50-second clip of like promoting your snippet of your song and like also showing like you behind the mic doing some shit, you know what I mean, like recording that or whatever, even just like doing ad-libs or some shit like that to promote the track. Yeah, I feel like that just adds a lot of like character to like not only the person's track, but it gives you something, so like kind of like a visualization of who you're listening to and what you're like, you know what I mean, who you're getting behind.
Yeah, and I've done like vlogs for Renegade Studios for a while. I think, honestly, for me, like, I'm totally willing to do that, but I'd love to see somebody willing to put in the dedication to come in with the camera.
And do that.
Because
yeah,
I find,
definitely.
especially if I'm producing or doing a session kind of thing,
Yeah.
a camera can be, like keeping up with clips and keeping up with the best moments.
Yeah, definitely can be hard.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, see, that's what I'm saying too, is I'm just talking, right? Like, these are ideas that I say, and like, obviously, when an idea comes to mind, I want to say it, but like, that's a lot easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
So like, fucking, yeah, it's just like a concept, I guess.
That being said, though, I was going to use that as a little bit of a segue.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, so we had Ethan LeBillois, he was on Wavelength podcast number 0.
Yeah.
So I want to make the announcement that he's withdrawn from the podcast, but he is still going to continue to work with Wavelength. And, he's kind of our dedicated camera guy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has a lot of stuff coming up through, like, his own means that I think people are going to be excited for.
Nice.
And I don't want to put anything out too much. I don't want to put the strain on him yet, because he hasn't given me any kind of deadlines or anything like that. But he's told me about a couple ideas he has for the podcast, or I should say for Wavelength, that I'm very excited for.
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, bro, for sure.
Yeah, and I think, like, let this serve as a bit of an open invitation, because through this we're trying to allow people to, try things out, right? If you want to do videos, if you want to, take part in this in some kind of way, reach out to us. Send us a DM, because we're always looking to give people little opportunities.
Yeah, and like, not to just like self-promote, but like, if you're an artist who's even just starting or wants to like get into it, and you haven't taken like, you don't have the full foot in the door, like, feel free to hit me up and reach out to me on Instagram at the official Yxnglord, and just shoot me a DM. And like, I'll have you by. I usually do a free studio session first, and then that way I can feel the vibe. We can kind of like just feel each other out, how we work together, and like, you know what I mean. By the end of the session, we'll have a track, and then we can kind of work from there on how you want to proceed with your sound and like all that stuff. But like, there's so many new artists who actually have crazy talent coming out of this town, and like, that's one thing I wanted to circle back around to earlier, because I know I only mentioned a few rappers earlier, but like, just to name a few rappers who like I have collabs with, and I've worked with, and who are just doing a lot, doing the most in this town, and like a Mathematical, Still Mad, like, he's been dropping crazy shit. Corey, Neuro, like, just an insane cameraman, fucking doing crazy work behind the camera.
And you hear that track you dropped the other day too, that EDM one.
Yeah, like, he's also
crazy.
an insane producer, man. Like, this guy's a fucking master of, like, he's a jack of all trades and master of all, this guy.
Crazy genius.
He is a genius. But, yeah, man, like, I'm just trying to think. There's so many different artists, man. Like, even today, my buddy just reached out to me and called me earlier from the studio. Like, my buddy Stevie, he's a rapper who, like, I haven't seen in ages, but, like, me and him dropped a couple songs, like, 2 or 3 years ago. But, like, shouts out my buddy, shouts out Pecans, shouts out my buddy Blake Francis from City Natives, Brandon Arnold from City Natives, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, man, for rappers, but, like, there's a lot of talent in this city, and, like, that's just, like, to name a few, you know what I mean? And it's just kind of crazy, because I've watched some of these rappers come from, like, day one, like, making their first song, like, never been in a studio before, never touched a microphone, just had the idea in their head, and then, like, I've watched some of these fucking kids come over and create, and now watching them, like, Harley, Love Loose Gap, like, he's a fucking insane artist, man. And I started rapping with that guy a couple years ago, and when I had him over, if I showed you one of his songs from back then to now, leaps and bounds, and he was crazy 2 years ago. So, like, leaps and bounds from that, and, like, his sound has evolved. And the same thing with Noah, like, Exit, that man, he's a legend, man, and he started just being so nervous and being, like, nervous to get behind the mic, and like, that's just with everybody, man. Like, that's like, a lot of artists are fucking nervous, and they don't have like it's not that they don't have the drive, it's that they just don't have the confidence off the top to do it, you know what I mean? And it's like, once you hear something back that sounds dope that you just spit, you're like, that's the reassurance that you need, you know what I mean? And like, I'll be like dapping him up in the studio and like whatever. I'm like, man, that's a dope verse, because seeing the growth from like day one and shit like that, man, it's just like crazy to me. But yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent on that
No,
now.
man.
But yeah.
Tangent accepted. Honestly, shout out City Natives. Actually, I've been meaning to like connect with them for a while.
Yeah. Honestly, another shout out to Split Adams, my homie from Nova Scotia. He just had a kid, him and his girl. So congrats to that. But me and him actually have some new projects that we've been working on that are kind of like half-assed done right now. That are not they're not finished, but will be done. We're working on actually a Hugs and Thugs 3 tape, which is going to be hilarious. If you guys have went back and listened to any of the old Hugs and Thugs tapes, they're hilarious. It was a group that was me and my buddy Split Adams, and then for a while it was like 4 or 5 of us. We had like 4 or 5 different members on it, but and then plus a DJ. But anyway, yeah, shout out Dave Solis, the DJ. But yeah, man. Other than that, like, I've been working on that. I've got a bunch of new solos, like, fuck, that new Detroit Smash track.
Oh my god.
We recorded that shit. That's on some shit, man.
I
We
want
recorded that last week.
Yeah, I want to take a minute to self-promote. Me and Yxnglord have an EP coming at some point. We haven't put a date on it yet.
Definitely.
It's just some tracks we've compiled in some of my favorite studio sessions I've been a part of.
Yeah, man. We've definitely had some good studio sessions.
Oh yeah, like the vibe is always good, and I think the tracks are gonna kind of pull through that way. And we just keep adding to the list at this point. Like,
yeah, like fucking come over today to record this podcast, and homie showing me like a bunch of beats he cooked up this week, like just fucking around. It's got 3 lo-fi ones, and I'm like, oh my god, these are fire. And like, I've already got 10 beats from the guy on my computer that I'm working on, like 3 already. I've got like 3 done. It's like, fuck yeah, we're gonna have some more coming out for sure.
oh yeah. So yeah, and I'm gonna kind of give a last chance. Any questions from Owen or anybody in the room, kind of thing?
You can't put me on the spot like that.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just want to.
I got a question, I guess. Is there any artists that you would like to work with, either locally or
Oh man,
not?
absolutely. So like, that's actually a great question. But
Thanks, man.
so no problem. Man, a lot of the artists that I've personally been fucking with lately are kind of like, I don't know, like a little bit more low key. Like me and Jake hang out all the time, so he knows my like taste in music and like the shit that I listen to. But like, I don't know. I've been listening to like, everything from like my boy Felly. He's kind of makes some crazy like, I don't know, like anywhere from rap, gospel, like soulful music, alternative. I don't know, kind of somewhere in the middle of all that. You make some crazy shit like that. I've been listening to him. I've been listening to Tom the Mailman lately. He's kind of like some fucking pop punk, like new wave shit, but like he brings you back to like a Nirvana age. I don't know. I've been listening to him. He's fucking dope. I would love to work with Tom the Mailman. Shouts out him. If you fucking ever hear this, work with me. Hit your boy up. But anyway, I've actually been reaching out to him in DMs. Big Baby Gucci, I actually have reached out to him, and I actually purchased a hook off of him a little while ago. So I do have a song that's going to be coming out with him somewhat soon, whenever I put my verse on it. But yeah, that'll be out on platforms hopefully within the next month and a half, once everything gets all settled and done. Yeah, other than that, man, I'm just trying to think of artists off the top of my head who I'd like to work with. There's tons of them for, like, fucking big artists, you know what I mean? Like, dream to work with Joey and, like, Ski Mask and, like, fucking, you know, people like that. Like, I'm just trying to think, like, to be honest with you, man, back a couple years ago, I went to Toronto back with Dylan Gadet and a couple other people. And anyway, he hooked me up with a lot of different, like, I got to meet a lot of different people in the music industry. And yeah, it just kind of put me onto a wave in Toronto. I got to meet another guy named Fortunato, who's actually like a 50-year-old rapper. He shouts out Fortunato. He's like a big brother to me, though. He's a dope rapper. Anyone wants to go check him out. He's like on some old school shit, but like he's got songs with Sean Price, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like fucking this is a guy who I've sat down with and like chatted up with a homie, like fucking stayed the night at my house. Like I don't know, just shit like that, man. Who like I would have never met if it wasn't for like just being in the right place at the right time and like meeting these people. So like shouts out Dylan for that shit back in the day. But yeah, man, like to be honest with you, there's so many different artists. Like I could kind of ramble on about that for days.
I know what you mean. All right, so this has been the Wavelength podcast for today. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace.